Good afternoon and welcome back to My Harlem Portraits, the show that aims at shedding the light on the fundamental contribution of African Americans to the building of this country and on Black excellence. Today, to represent Black excellence in a very excellent way, we have the plurimal-time winner of the AUDELCO Awards, winner of AUDELCO Awards 2024, Reginald L. Wilson, who is a theater and TV actor, a playwright, and assistant director. Welcome to My Harlem Portraits, Reginald.
Thank you for having me.
So, Reginald, congratulations on your recent 2024 AUDELCO wins. How many were that won?
On Monday, I got four awards.
So altogether, how many AUDELCO Awards have you won?
8.
Wow. 8 AUDELCO Awards. For those who don't know, the AUDELCO Awards are what the Tony is for white theater. The awards for Black theater, the Tonys of Black theater, as far as I'm concerned. And they've been created by a forerunner, a woman who knew that Black theater needed funding, first of all, and audiences who could afford to go to the theater. Tell us a little bit about the AUDELCO Awards.
Well, the AUDELCO Awards this year was the 52nd annual AUDELCO Awards. Vivian Robertson started it. And it's something that I learned about when I first moved to New York City back in 2011 with WOODIE King Jr. And it automatically became one of my goals. It recognizes Black theater. It recognizes not only the actors, but it also recognizes directors, playwrights, light designers, set designers, musical theater, as well as straight plays. And it's one of the highlights and the best things that's happening in New York City.
Yes, definitely. And the first time I saw you perform was in 2016. You were doing a one-man show and one-man play, Sugar Ray, based on the legendary boxer Sugar Ray Robinson's life, which is written by Laurence Holder and directed and produced by the WOODIE King Jr. We're going to talk about him. That was an outstanding thing. And on top of it, you were performing it in where the Sugar Ray restaurant used to be, the real place.
Right.
In Harlem. So tell us about that, because I've been following your career since that time. When I saw you then, I said, oh my God, this guy is amazing.
All right, so the play was written by Laurence Holder, who is a great playwright. He also wrote Zora.
Yeah.
That was performed by the great Elizabeth Van Dyke, as well as Felicia Rashaad. Felicia Rashaad, if I'm not mistaken, I think she won the AUDELCO Award for her performance of that play. And Denzel Washington, he wrote When Chickens Come Home to Roost. So Laurence Holder is a great, great prolific playwright. And WOODIE King and I were sitting at the restaurant in Haarlem Besame, which was run by Mr. Bernardo Ruby. And we were sitting and we were talking about, something for me to perform. And when we first sat down, we was talking about the play Home by the late Sam Art Williams. And we were talking about what it took for me to put that play on, producing it and everything. And while we were sitting there, you already mentioned that the location of the play was at the Haarlem Besame restaurant, which used to be run by Sugar Ray. So we had a mural of Sugar Ray on the wall that was behind me. And WOODIE King looked at the mural and he said, "How did they get that picture of you to look so old?" And
I
I turned around. Yeah, and I turned around. I said, "No, Woody, that's Sugar Ray." He was like, "Oh man, you look just like Sugar Ray." And I was like, "Yeah, well, that's Sugar Ray. That's not me." So then at that moment, Woody said, "Well, instead of doing home, why don't we do a one-man show on Sugar Ray Robinson? And we can do it right here in the restaurant. We'll bring dinner theater back to the restaurant." And Woody King asked me, he said, are you able to write a one-man show? And I said, well, Woody, I'll go home right now. I'll do the research. I'll start putting together a one-man show on Sugar Ray Robinson. And after we met, I went home and I started doing my research. And Woody King called me. I'm not sure if it was the same day or the next day. And he said, Reg, I talked to one of my friends, Laurence Holder, and he has a one-man show already written
Wow.
on Sugar Ray Robinson. And he said, I'm going to meet you back at the restaurant and I'm going to give you the play. So I met up with Woody. He gave me the play. I went home. I read it. I loved it. And that's how everything started. I immediately started learning the lines. Now, my excitement was so great. It was a one-man show, about an hour and a half of text, and I learned all the lines in four days.
Wow.
So, and then I sat down with Woody, and it was one of the greatest things because I had Woody King sitting there directing me as well as Laurence Holder, the playwright. So I was right there with greatness and I was just learning. They were teaching me so much about the times of Sugar Ray and they was teaching me so much about Harlem, and it was just one of the greatest experiences that I've ever gone through. And Woody King is also responsible for me coming to New York. So to be up under his directing, it was I can't even find the words to describe how joyous it was.
And this brings me to my next question, because when you arrived in New York City, you said in 2011 from
Hmm.
Tallahassee, Florida, you came here because Woodie King Jr. asked you to come at the new Federal Theater for an internship.
Yes.
Tell me about that. That
So
experience.
I was at the University of Florida. I was obtaining my Master's of Fine Arts in Theater, and my final requirements was I had to do a thesis role and I had to do an internship. And Dr. Michael Pinkney, who was my advisor, who was my mentor, who was just everything for me at the university. I love you, Dr. Pinkney. He was everything for me at the University of Florida. He directed the show Gem of the Ocean, and I played Solly Two Kings. And Dr. Pinkney put together a symposium on August Wilson, and he invited some of the greatest August Wilson historians that there were, and Woody King was one of them.
Wow.
And we spoke, and Woody King went through the entire cast, and he was asking, and he was giving everyone a rundown of their performance. And when he got to my character, he said, "Where's the guy who played Woody, Solly Two Kings?" And I was sitting right in front of him, and I said, "I'm right here, Woody." And he said, "Oh, no, 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 y'all go to the back and get that old man who played Solly." And I said, "No, Woody, that was me." And Woody King said to me, "I got to get you to New York." So at that moment, I had never been to New York City before, ever.
Wow.
And when he said that, the ball started rolling, and my professors and my advisors, we started to make it happen, and it happened. And Woody King, I was with Woody King. I came up January 3rd of 2011, and I interned with Woody King. And when I first got there, I was so starstruck and in so much disbelief that I sat in his library and I just kept reading plays by like Ed Bullins, and I just kept reading plays and plays and plays. And then one day Woody came into the library and he said, "Oh man, I didn't bring you here to read plays. I brought you here to perform."
Mm.
And I said, "Oh, that caught me off
Really?
guard. I thought I was coming here, to learn producing, which I also did. I helped to plan his. I think it. I'm not sure. I think it was the 35th or the 40th anniversary of New Federal Theater with Jackie Jeffries.
Yes.
And
Our friend Jackie Jeffries.
right.
The
and
president of AUDELCO now.
the president, yes. And so Woodie King said, let me make a phone call. So Woodie King called Fulton Hodges, who was directing Hades Children of God by Lori Hayes, and he asked Fulton if he had a role available. And Fulton said, well, I mean, I have a role. There's no lines, but he can play a soldier. And Woodie said, go do it. So I went down and I met with Fulton and I did the role. And I think I had one line in the play, but I had a lot of action. And from that play and the people that I met from that play, and Mr. Ruby was one of them who owned Haarlem Besame. He was one of the people that I met at the play, and he has a son, an autistic son. And Mr. Ruby talked to me after the play, and he said, "Do you do any actor coaching or do you do any teaching?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, can you work with my son?" So that relationship was established from that moment, and everything just started falling into place, all from that initial phone call that Woodie King made to Fulton C. Hodges.
Yes, fantastic. I mean, all this coincidence and all this, it shows that it was meant to be for you to be here, and it was meant to be for you to have this career, which has been amazing. And from that that internship, you played a performance of Levee in Rainey Black Bottom, a new Haarlem Arts Theatre.
Mm-hmm.
And that got you your second already AUDELCO Award, right?
That was my first.
But first, right, sorry.
Right. Well, technically that was my first two AUDELCOs because I won the best lead actor for playing Levee, and we won the best revival award. And that play, the late Grace Jones, who was the president of the AUDELCOs, that's when she came to me and she told me, she said, "You're going to be a star." She said, "The way you grabbed that role and the way you did those monologues," she said, "You're going to be a star." And when I was nominated, again, I'm new to New York, so I don't know much. I'm still trying to learn people. I'm trying to really learn the business. And so when I was nominated against, in my category, I had Coleman Domingo, the great Coleman Domingo.
Wow.
I had the great Ralph McCain. I had Stephen Tyrone Williams. I had the great and late Ron Cephas Jones. I was in the category against them. And it was just the honor of being nominated against them. And at the AUDELCO Awards, when they called my name for the winner,
you couldn't believe it.
that moment was surreal. I was in such shock. I was so happy just to be in the category with those great actors. And then when I won, I couldn't do anything but thank God.
God is blessing you because you are an amazing human being. All these years I've known you. You have shown nothing but respect, humility, warm towards everybody that you meet, and super, super talent. But you don't take yourself for serious. You really are a very amazing person.
Thank you.
And an incredible actor. So
thank you.
I think that's why you're blessed. So after that came your second AUDELCO, as we said before, with Sugar Ray. And then you have many more other credits in New York. I'm just gonna nom some. Blues for Mr. Charlie, Fancies, The Meeting, Black Angels Over Tuskegee, Cowboy. Then come to new ones now, Unentitled, Zooman and the Sign. Tell us about these different plays and what was the moment in which you said, okay, this is changing my career, or when was the moment when you felt there was an obstacle, there was something difficult? Tell us about those moments.
Well, I'll start with Blues for Mr. Charlie. I was finishing my internship with WOODIE King, and one of my classmates from University of Florida, I was supposed to come back to UF to, graduate, walk across the stage and everything. And one of my classmates, Wayne Williger, he called me and he said, "Hey, Reg, I saw an ad for an audition for Blues for Mr. Charlie." And he said, "Maybe you should audition." And I was like, "Well, I don't know, send it to me." So he sent me the audition. I looked at the breakdown, and it said that they were looking for Richard, who was from the North, and they were looking for a lot of other actors from the South to play
Mhm.
against Richard. And I went to the audition, and I was going, to play one of the guys from the South because, as you can hear, I have this heavy Southern accent. So I went to the audition with Eugene Nesmith, and I did the audition, and Eugene, he spoke to me afterwards. And then he made a very big change in everything. He was so enamored by my audition that he changed the breakdown
Oh my
for
God.
the audition. So now Richard was
Is
going to be from the South,
and everybody else is from the
and
north.
and
Oh my
everybody
God.
else was from the North. So I ended up uh, getting that role. I had only been in New York for maybe 5 months.
Oh my God.
And the New York Times came, and the New York Times mentioned me in the paper. They put my picture in the paper. The New York Times labeled me as charismatic. One thing that happened on the night that the New York Times came, the character that shoots Richard, he went to shoot me, but the gun misfired.
Oh,
It malfunctioned. The gunshot didn't happen, but I still had to react. And he kept pulling the trigger, and eventually the gun fired, but at first it didn't. And the New York Times mentioned that not even Laurence Olivier could have reacted better after the gun misfired. So, that was an honor. And so after that, I did the other plays. I did the meeting. One thing that has been discovered in New York City when I did Sugar Ray, I learned those lines in 4 days. Like I said, I get phone calls about being emergency replacements.
mm,
So Michael Green was doing the meeting, and he called me up and he said, "Hey, one of my actors, he has an emergency and he can't do the show, and I just want to know if you will come in and do the role on book." And I said, "Well," and he called me early in the morning. He called me very early because we ended up meeting around 9 o'clock that morning. He gave me the script and we went over some light blocking and everything like that. And the show was that night at 7. So from that moment at 9 o'clock till 7 o'clock, I drilled the lines. And at 7 o'clock, I was off book. Um,
wow. Oh
I
my
played the role. I played the role of Rashaad, which is not a huge role,
God.
but it has enough lines in it, and I was able to pull that off. And that was the first time that I was called to be an emergency replacement. And then you mentioned Black Angels over
Yeah.
Tuskegee. Lawrence, not Lawrence, I'm sorry. Leon Gray
Hey.
called me. He let me audition, and he cast me as an understudy for the great Lamont Rucker,
Mhm.
who was in the play at the time. And Leon ended up calling me one day, and he said, "Hey, I need you to go on tonight." And I said, "Wait, Leon, I haven't rehearsed with you all.
Mhm.
I just sat in the back of it and watched the show a couple of times. I haven't rehearsed with you all." And he said, "Come in early. We're gonna do a couple speed throughs, and then you're on." And that's what happened. That night, I was on. I was off book, and then come around to Unentitled. I went to see the show, Unentitled last year.
Mm-hmm.
And after the show was over, I got a phone call from the producer, and he asked me if I had come back to New York. And I said yes. And so he asked me, he said, "Hey, is there any way you can come in and take over the lead role?" And he said, "You could do it off. You could do it with the script." So I was hesitant about doing it with the script, and I didn't want to do it with the script because the actor who was performing at the time was doing it with the script, and I didn't want to get up there and do the same thing.
Mm.
So I met with him on Friday. He gave me the script. On Saturday, I met with the cast, and we did some light blocking. On Sunday, I went up with the script because I just got it.
Yeah.
But the way I maneuvered the script, I broke it down into sections. So where you couldn't really tell that I was using the script because I got so familiar with it. And then we were off Monday, Tuesday. Marsha, the stage manager, she met with me Monday, Tuesday. We worked all day long for me to get off book. Wednesday, I was off book for Act One.
Mm.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the rest of the runs, I was totally off book. And that was a hard role. And then you also mentioned
Very.
Fences. I got the role for Fences 5 days before the show opened as another emergency replacement. And this one was for the role of Troy. And anyone knows Fences knows that Troy has 455 million lines.
Yes.
And I called on my wolf pack. That's my group of friends.
Mm.
Constance Thompson, Wadia Brown, Isaiah Joseph, and we all met up and we just drilled lines, drilled lines, drilled lines, drilled lines. And you saw the results of that
Fantastic.
in this year's AUDELCOs because I was nominated for Best Lead Actor for Fences.
This is crazy. I mean, you have gone through a lot of emergencies
Right.
moments that have helped you really get to the next level because now you know you can do all those things. You can
Yes.
go last moment and you can take up any role because you've done among the most difficult roles and the most important playwrights, and you can do it.
I can do it.
You can do it all.
And I must say that this all started. I want to go way back. My mom, Dr. Vivian Wilson, my heart, she she was over the drama department when I was growing up in church.
Oh, wow.
And as a young kid, I remember her putting me in shows at 4 years old. And I remember her giving me these speeches that I had to learn. And they were so long.
Oh,
And I didn't understand why she was giving me speeches that were a lot longer than the older kids.
yeah.
And she was making sure that I learned all of these lines and all of these speeches. And I didn't know then that she was grooming me
Yes.
for today
Yes.
because it has become my life and my love.
She was giving you the key to take up those challenges and make sure that you could win. Wow. That is so amazing. That is so beautiful. What an interesting interview you're giving me. I mean, I've known you so many years, but I didn't know all these things about you. This is
Mhm.
very, very interesting. You have many other notable credits, like Pipeline,
Mhm.
fantastic, Searching for Willie Lynch, Home, Miss Julie, and Streamers. We talk about that, but I also, before the time is over, I want to talk about the fact that you are the founder and CEO of Faith Steps Production, which produced Sugar Ray, Scrambled Eggs, and Soul Portal in New York City. What made you choose to go into production? And then let's talk also a moment about Scrambled Eggs, because that portray you had in Scrambled Eggs, knowing you and looking at that, the next time I saw you, I was a little scared because I thought, is he really crazy like that or what? Is he? You were amazing. So please.
All right. So I started writing church plays, and my little brother, who was a pastor of a church, I'm very religious. My little brother, he was given a sermon one day, and the sermon that he gave was on faith. And faith was an acronym to mean forget all impossible thought hindrances. And that spoke to me so deeply because I had been doubting myself and I had been doubting my plays. And when he spoke that message, I recorded it and I listened to it over and over. And I just kept hearing, forget all impossible thought hindrances. That's faith. Forget all impossible thought hindrances. So I started my production company and I added steps to it. And steps is also an acronym. So I took faith steps, and it means forget all impossible thought hindrances as you start to enter promised success.
Wow.
So that's what I'm doing. I'm stepping on faith. I produced Soul Portal, which was a collection of arts. My mom used to do that. She used to put a bunch of artists together, dancers, soloists, poets, and we put together a show, like almost like a talent show.
Yes.
And I produced Sugar Ray, of course, and then came Scrambled Eggs. And Scrambled Eggs, it was a play that I first started writing back in 2006 with D. Jerome Garrett for the Refuge House for Battered Women. And it was a play on domestic violence. And the goal of that play was to put it out there,
Yeah.
like no holds barred. We need to address this situation and we need to put it in the face. Like, don't pull back. We need to show exactly what's happening in these homes because scrambled eggs is it talks about to scramble an egg, you have to first pick the egg. And once you pick the egg, you crack at the egg. And once the egg is broken, and you put it in a bowl and you beat it. And it's the same with domestic violence. The abusers look for their prey, just like you're looking for an egg, and they crack at their prey with the different forms of abuse, the psychological abuse, the emotional abuse, the financial abuse, the verbal abuse, all of those abuses, they crack at them with all of those abuses until they're broken. And once they're broken, they isolate them
Yes.
like the bowl, but they isolate them away from the outside world. And now that prey has to totally depend on them because they can't get out.
Yes.
So, and then that's when the beating starts. And so that play is to open the eyes of people who are in those situations right now. And maybe they're at the early stages and they don't realize what's to come.
Yeah.
So it's to open their eyes up. Is this happening to you? Is your abuser, whether male or female, is your abuser taking your paycheck every time you get paid? Is your abuser telling you exactly what to do with every dime that you get? That's a form of abuse. So after we show all of those different abuses, then we can take the spatula away from the abuser and we can stop the beating. And when I wrote the play, I must admit to you, I didn't want to play it. I didn't want to play that role. But Fulton Hodges, who was the director, he said, you have to play that role. And the reason why that happened was because we were doing a Zoom reading one year during COVID, and the guy who was playing that role, his computer froze. So
Mm.
when his computer froze, I had to jump in and do the role. And from that moment forward, Fulton always said, Reggie, you got to play that role. You
Yeah.
got to play that role. So, and then to see that play got nominated and I won Best Lead Actor for that.
You didn't want to play because he's a disgusting person.
Right,
But
right,
you were amazing. Amazing. You made it so real that someone who sees that and is in that situation, she or he, but usually it's a she, unfortunately,
right.
is gonna really think very hard and try to get out because you that play was amazing. So thank you for
It's
everything.
coming back in 2025.
Good. And
And
we'll talk
if you
about that.
remember, the play ends on a cliffhanger. So Scrambled Eggs 2 is also in the works.
Fantastic. We're going to have a series. That's
Right.
good. That's very beautiful. So we are coming to the end of this conversation. I had other questions, but we don't have time. But we will have another interview before you do the scrambled eggs. So we are going to talk about scrambled eggs and scrambled eggs too.
Right.
All right?
I'm ready.
Thank you very much for this. Congratulations again for the AUDELCO Awards this year and all the AUDELCO Awards he had before.
Thank you.
Congratulations to everybody else who won an AUDELCO this year. And thank you to my viewers for following us. We see you next Saturday, 12:30 on Spectrum 1993. And to see all the past episodes of My Haarlem Portraits, go to YouTube channel My Haarlem Portraits. Thank you again, Reginald, and have a beautiful vacation. You deserve it.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day.
Ciao.
Ciao.